Hello and welcome to today's video. So this time we're going to be taking a look at two men's adventure titles. That's the Executioner series by Don Pendleton and the Casca series by Barry Sadler. We've got a few little spin-offs that go with them as well. So sit back, relax, and let's take a look. Okay, so we start off with the very first Executioner book. Here is the first book of a thrilling new series. Now, these were all very recent to my collection. I only got them in the last couple of weeks, so they're literally fresh from the seller, and I bought them from a dealer in America, or rather an eBay seller in America who was selling off a huge collection of these sorts of books. Fantastic, vintage SF, horror, brilliant. And the main thing was they were all in exceptionally great condition. So that one, this is the first printing of the very first Executioner book. And it's not got a mark on it, and all I can think of is it was bought from brand new, and it's just survived very, very well indeed. So excellent stuff. I haven't got them all. It was basically there was a job lot, and Don Pendleton himself wrote the first 38 in the series, bar one, and but the series itself ran for an amazing 450 issues. This last one here, well, this first one rather, came out in 1969, December 69. The last one was published in about December 2020. And there was 450 in like this single format. And then there were some spin-offs as well, some like giant size ones as well. So this is number 2. This one's slightly more worn, still 1969. I mean, there's a little bit of storage dust still on the top, but apart from that, I think these will just benefit from a really good polish, I think, more than anything. Number 3 here, War Against the Mafia. So, War Against the Mafia was the first book, and the basic premise of the Executioner series was Mac Bolan. He's like the hero there. He was nicknamed the Executioner because of his high body count. He was a sniper in Vietnam, but whilst he's over in Vietnam, back home, his family are killed, and they're killed by his wife's father, and there's only like one survivor, which is like his son, and he immediately comes home from Vietnam, and he finds out that the father took a loan from the Mafia, and he wasn't able to pay it back, and rather than have his family suffer at the hands of the Mafia, he just shot them all himself and then killed himself. So Mac Bolan goes on a rampage against the Mafia. Basically, he leaves the army, comes back to America, and devotes his life to fighting the Mafia. A bit like The Punisher. Now, if you've ever seen the Marvel Punisher series, which was a comic book series, that is very, very closely based on the premise of the Executioner. And so much so that Don Pendleton could have easily sued, but he decided to instead give it its blessing, which was very good of him. So this is, it looks like I got the first 5 here. They get a bit more sporadic after that. It's a shame the same seller had some of the later numbers, but I'm really sort of only interested in the ones that Pendleton himself wrote, because they're the ones that are really highly regarded. I'm sure there's good ones later on in the series by other authors, and maybe I'll try and track down a little best of, if there's particular issues that are worth reading. So we're on to 1971 now, and they really are in great shape. It's just like they've just got, because these books are like 50 plus years old, there's just a little bit of like handling wear, if you know what I mean, and obviously the tops are a bit dusty, but apart from that, they're in exceptional condition. So I'm really, really pleased with these. This is number 7, and I'm sure the guy who, well, it was a woman who was selling them, and whether they were her father's, I'm not sure, but that is my suspicion. And I think he was a massive paperback collector, absolutely enormous, and he bought lots of books, basically, and kept them in exceptional condition, and they've survived very, very well. That's something that's very 70s, in a cigarette ad bound into the book. This one's got a little bit of foxing on there. Not the end of the world, but this looks like a run. All of them in beautiful sort of first condition. We've not even had a price label to rub out, and that's what makes me think that these have been all bought from sort of brand new, really. Caribbean Kill. The cover art on a lot of these early ones was done by a chap called Gil Cohen, and really did a great job on these jackets. Not sure if he ever got a credit or not. Wasn't really the done thing back then. Not on these sorts of books. Yeah, 1972. I said I haven't got all 38 Pendleton ones, sadly. I've got to have some gaps to fill in. But that's okay, because I've only just got them. It was a series I always wanted to get. And I was waiting for just the right lot to sort of turn up. And that's exactly what's happened. Back in Philly. The 8 million copies in print. Major film series coming. I don't think that ever actually happened. And this one's got wet at some point, and it's left a little sort of staining on the back there, but not a great deal I can do about that. It will come up a little bit once it gets polished. You can see the Mr. Sheen getting plenty of action, and there we are. Look where it's been stored there. Look, there's a bit of dampness got between the two books, so it's meant there's taken a little bit off the front of this one as well, which is a bit of a shame, but it's not the end, because this is number 16, and this is the only one in the first 38 that isn't written by Don Pendleton himself. And Mac Bolan fans don't even include this one sort of as part of the run. It's apparently so bad. So I think they learned a very wise lesson at that point by just letting any old person write an Executioner book, and that did not happen. We then got a bit of a relaunch in effect, because the spines all go to black from number 17, and the cover art sort of changes ever so slightly, just the design of it, keeping the books looking fresh on the shelf, I guess. 1974. Here, Texas Storm. Cigarette advertising again. And they are just, what a great lot this was. I did very, very well, I feel, to get these. I know the books aren't mega common. Certainly not in the UK. They were published over here by Corgi Books in the UK. Not such great, I don't think such great sort of uniform jackets, but they are there. But you don't often come across them. But they are available online in the UK for just a few pounds a book. So if you fancy reading them, the first one, War Against the Mafia, is regarded as an absolute classic, so of its type. So that might be one that you search out. Nice little sort of pile here now of these Executioners. Then we'll give them all a clean and a polish. Or we'll give them a brush off. I think we'll do the polishing at the very end once we've looked at all the books. And number 29. I would see a little bit of page brown. I've got no idea where these books were stored. But on my other channel, I do sometimes, you know, every few months, I do like a recent vintage paperback sales on eBay. Particularly if there's been some stuff that's gone for, you know, sort of good money, or if it's a particular collection. And I'm going to do a dedicated video on all the books that were offered from this particular seller, because I believe they're all from an original owner collection, and there was some absolutely fantastic stuff in there. I'm just glad I got this little bit of it. But there was a run of Doc Savage. I think there was 170, the first 170 Doc Savage books. Beautiful condition. But it went for big money. It was a huge unbroken run. I would have loved to have got those. And the postage from the States on these wasn't that bad, because they used eBay's global shipping program. So I actually did very well on the postage on these as well. So it's just superb. Terrible Tuesday, number 34. Bestseller library there. number 38. This is the last one that Don Pendleton himself wrote, Satan's Sabbath. And look, the last day, this is it, the end of Mac Bullen's long second mile into hell. There we are, Don Pendleton actually sort of signing off there, saying I'm not going to write anymore. The final mile. But of course, as we know, it did carry on. And look, Gil Cohen there gets the cover illustration there. We know the series did carry on for another, well, it went up to number 450. So he basically sold the rights to them. And then this was quite a fan favourite. This is the Executioner's War book, and this didn't come with a lot, but it's part of my Executioner collection, and it's basically like a guide to the first run of the series. There's similar books in the run there. It's letters from fans, the bits on the hardware that was used, because it's all historically accurate, all the weapons that he used in that. Absolutely fantastic. Right, so that's that first lot done. So I think what we'll do, we'll give them the brush down, and then at the end we'll do all the polishing. So let's give those a brush now. Right, so since these are all thankfully the same size, typical A format American paperback, just make them very easy to brush down. And it'll be interesting to see if there's loads of dust that comes off these, or just a little. Not a lot, in all honesty, not a lot. Which won't be the case when we get to the Casca books, because they have been part of my collection for a long time, and I'm certain that those ones would have picked up a fair bit of dust over the years. Plus they've come from different sources, unlike these, which are all from the one source. I think the biggest cleaning job with these books today is going to be the polishing at the end. So this part of it isn't going to take too long, I don't think, to go through and just give everyone each book the once over and then a brush down. I am planning on doing a bit more comprehensive deep dive into the Executioner series, plus artist Gil Cohen on my other channel fairly soon. But I thought, well, I'll give these a clean first, so they're looking as good as possible before I film that Don Pendleton video. There is actually a lot on eBay at the moment, amazingly, which is all 450 of the Executioner books, if you can believe it. 1 till 450. I think there's just a handful missing, and it's like 3 enormous boxes, but it's buyer collects, so the seller won't actually arrange for them to be posted, and there's a buy it now of £250, which is, you know, like 50-60p a book, isn't it? So price is pretty good, and condition seems alright on them. They don't seem, you know, it looks like they've all been bought by one guy, brand new, and just looking to make some space, really. If I was closer, because I'm nowhere near where the books are being sold, if I was closer I would at least go and have a look and maybe make him an offer for that many in the series. But I just don't think I'd get round to reading them. I think it's probably just best to keep to the original ones, and maybe the best of what came afterwards. So that's the Executioner. So that was our first sort of main series. The next one is one of my all-time favourite series, and that's the Casca books. Okay, so here is the first book in the Casca series by Barry Sadler. Now, Barry Sadler was another Vietnam veteran, Staff Sergeant Barry Sadler, highly decorated, and he wrote a single which became a record called The Ballad of the Green Beret. And he was a highly decorated Vietnam veteran, highly regarded by his peers, by other soldiers, and he was a really talented writer, and he created this character here, Casca Longinus, who was, when the story opens, it's around the time of Jesus Christ, and Casca is a Roman centurion, and so the story goes, Jesus himself is on the cross. He's being crucified, and Casca is one of the Roman soldiers who thrusts the like spear into the side of Jesus's body, basically, and then Jesus looks down at him and says, "What you are now, you will always be." And basically, he's saying, "You will forever be a soldier until we meet again." And he's basically cursed Casca into a life of an eternal life, where he just goes from basically war to war. So he's attracted by different conflicts. And the story opens in Vietnam, and Casca has been blown to bits, and he's in a Vietnam field hospital. And as he's being operated on by this doctor, basically his body is like repairing itself. He cannot die. His body is like repairing itself in front of the doctor, and he realizes that the game is up. So he sort of semi-hypnotizes the doctor and starts to tell his story, and that's how the books are sort of written out. See this one here, look at that. That's what you call toning. I've had these books a long time, a lot of them from when they were published. And I was buying them as they were coming out, and they were really difficult to find in the UK. In fact, in the UK, we just had those first 3 books. But the series by Sadler himself went on to 22 books, and we'll have all of those today, plus the first couple of spin-offs which weren't by Sadler, and that's sadly when I lose interest. But the series jumps about in time a bit. So as you can see, this one here, Panzer Soldier, he's working for the Germans during the Second World War. There's also a great First World War one. I mean, basically, wherever there's been conflict, Casca has been there in some form or another. Sometimes his name changes to like Casey, for example. But it's a great series. I always prefer the sort of the really ancient ones rather than the more up-to-date ones, personally, because it was periods of history that I wasn't perhaps that familiar with. And they were a bit more perhaps realistic, but I love them all. I absolutely love them all. And I've read the whole lot through, probably, well, the early books I've probably read 3 or 4 times. The later ones at least twice each, and they're just great. As you see, they're not massively long, so you can get through them in just a couple of sittings, really, because the stories are that page turning. You cannot wait to sort of. They're really difficult to put down, shall we say? They really are. That's the Persian there. But as you can see, the copies aren't as nice as those Executioners, and that's simply because I've had them so long. I did do a video on the series on my main channel. It was quite a while back now, but it did incredibly well, and I had some fantastic feedback, including from Barry Sadler's daughter, which was really lovely to hear. Sadly, Barry Sadler himself, I don't know the exact details, but I believe it was like he was trying to foil a burglary of some sort in a bank, and he saw what was going on. I think he got just tied up into it and ended up getting shot, sadly, and was killed right in his prime, really. I don't think he was even 50 years old. Absolute tragedy. And what a talent lost. Apart from these Casca books, he did write some other Vietnam War books, which were also extremely highly regarded because they're so accurate. And they would be, because they're written by someone who was there and experienced it all. And I have got a few of those here, which I've included with today's video, just so we've got all the Casca books and Barry Sadler books in one sort of hit, really. This wasn't the video I was actually planning to do this week. I'm going to do that next week now, and that's a few other smaller series that I've got. So it's going to be, it will be next week, the 3 Investigators series. Alfred Hitchcock and the 3 Investigators. We're going to be doing my photo novels and some of my sort of later Doctor Who books, so a bit of a mixture. This was a good one, I remember, African Mercenary. Beautiful cover art on these original Ace Charter editions. I really like them. These are all pretty nice condition. Obviously they're going to be dusty, and like the Executioners, they are going to benefit from a really good polish, but generally these aren't that bad, you know. But yeah, great artwork on that. I'd love a piece of that original artwork. Now, got a bit of dust there. All the Casca books were released, the originals were released as audiobooks as well. So with a bit of searching, you can probably find those online. And once again, they're not particularly long because the books themselves aren't that long. The Phoenix. But I remember during the 90s I had my shop, and we would import these as they got published. Absolutely love them to bits. Pirate. Of course, the idea, you could say, was pinched by Highlander, where he was like an eternal and couldn't die. Very, very similar sort of concept, you know. But Casca got there first, and that's worth remembering. Desert Mercenary. Now the series was carried on by other authors. Some apparently are quite good, and some are absolutely awful, and some of them are out and out copies of other books. So I've just steered clear. I've got the first two that were published after Sadler died, and I didn't enjoy either of them really, so it's sort of put me off. But I think Tony Roberts wrote quite a few, and some of them are apparently very, very good. But there are other authors who've tried to do it, and I think they plagiarised some other books almost word for word. So I just don't want the memory spoiled of the original, so I've left it at that basically. Number 19 here. But if there was ever a series I would recommend to people who want just a good rip-roaring yarn to get straight into, if you like the concept, it's the Casca books I always send them to because they're so great. There's another good one here, Soldier of Gideon. Yeah, it's just going to be the sort of dust on these, and then a little bit of polish, and they'll be looking pretty good. But there are a couple here that are looking quite rough, and since I love the series so much, I might put a few on a wants list and track them down, because they do all turn up, often in lots, the sets, you know. And a set of these goes for about $100. So you can get them definitely without too much issue. And here was the very last one. In fact, my last one is actually quite worn, Casca the Mongol. So yeah, having looked through these with my modern collector's eye, there's a few here that I'm certainly going to, when I come to edit this video, I'll make a little note of the ones that are really rough and put them down to get upgraded copies. So I'm going to pause there because I'm going to give those a brush down, and then we've got another little pile of more Casca related stuff to go through. Yeah, so certainly not in the greatest of condition, some of these, but I don't care. I know I've had such enjoyment from them. I honestly don't mind, but the collector in me would like to get better copies now. So I am going to work on seeing if that's going to be a possibility. It may be, like in a lot of cases, I might need to buy a few job lots and upgrade that way. As I said, they often turn up in little groupings, and that's by far the best way to read them. But I think at the moment, I believe the books are actually out of print, so it's probably created a little bit of demand on the second-hand market. But I don't know for 100% sure. That's them done. Okay, so this is one of 2 books written by Paul Dengelegi, if that's how you pronounce it. Dengelegi, I think that's it. Casca the Liberator, and this continued the series after Barry Sadler had passed away. So it said Barry Sadler's Casca the Liberator, and they had this one, Casca the Defiant. And I bought these as they came out, and I think I read one of them, and I just couldn't get on with the style, and that was it. I never read another non-Sadler Casca book ever. 2001 these were. Must have been when I bought them myself. 1999. Yeah, so they tried to keep the series going, but it just wasn't happening. Now, as I said, the first 3 were released in the UK, but they had completely different jackets, and they were published by Star Books. And it's an interesting take. I don't know of any other sort of foreign editions. These 3 generally turn up fairly regularly if you keep an eye open for them. At 1984. But that's pretty worn, I've got to say. This was one which was in even worse, and I do remember upgrading this one, like in the last sort of 5 years. Or I may have just come across another copy and I swapped it for the one that I had. 1984, and the last one was this one, number 3. And I always remember a friend of mine, when this one came out, he got all excited because he saw, like, I don't know, space or something. He thought maybe they're going to go into the future. Sort of, it's going to be science fiction. And of course, that never ever happened. It was always in an historical concept. It was never. They never went into the future with the character, and thank goodness for that. You know, is what I say. It's got a tiny little name inside, but it's in pen, so we're not going to be able to do anything about that. Now, I have got 3 of Barry Sadler's Vietnam books, and look at the state of this. Now, this is going to really benefit from having a polish, because you see that sort of, well, I mean, it's got that, which usually means it's been remaindered, but it's really got a layer of dust and dirt on it, and that just reflects how long I've had these. As far as I know, these Vietnam books that he wrote, and there's a few of them, I haven't got them all, are pretty scarce. So this one says it's copyrighted 1987, and it lists 5 books there, of which I've got 3 of these ones in my own collection. So that's The Shooter. This is Phu Nam. You see these are a lot longer than the Casca books. It's got a little 125, and we're actually going to use the rubber. First time we've had to use it today. But these are looking quite worn, aren't they? Well, not worn, just a bit dirty. Just a bit dirty. And then Run for the Sun. Yeah, these are quite a bit more showing the worse for wear. So it looks like there's five sort of Vietnam related books that he wrote. Now I have got a couple of other series that sort of fit with the videos that we're doing today, basically. So this is the Sergeant Hawk series. There's, I believe there's 4 of these practically. I've not read them, but they come highly recommended, so I sort of picked them up after hearing about them. So it may have been on the Paperback Warrior podcast, possibly, but I hear these are very good. It's got a little inventory mark in the back, so let's get rid of that. So I shall have a read of these 2 and I'll report back. But I seem to remember when I first looked they were really difficult to find, and then by fluke I came across them and I thought, oh, I'll grab them now, because I remember them being sort of recommended. 1979. Yeah, quite a minor publisher. So that was Sergeant Hawk, and this is the returner Sergeant Hawk. Same author. Leisure books. Yeah, you don't really see a lot of those around, and you know, Leisure Books are one of those publishers that sort of release titles to like gas stations and hotel lobbies, if you know what I mean. They weren't like distributed through the bookshops. And then we got a couple by Lou Cameron here, so The First Blood and Tunnel War. And Lou Cameron was quite an established author, and he's on my radar now as one of those authors to try and pick up when I come across him, which isn't very often. This is a Magnum one, great jacket on it actually. I'm trying to see who might have done that. I'm not sure, but I bet you one of my viewers will know. Prestige Books, 1971, The First Blood. And we got this one, Tunnel War, The Tunnel War. This is a Lancer. Ah yeah, I picked this one up recently. It's come from Richard Booth's. Now I might be able to get that off. What do you think? Should I give it a try? I went to Hay on Wye recently, and with a friend of mine who also has a YouTube channel, Steve the Outlaw Bookseller, and we went into Richard Booth's. I think an incredible downstairs basement section with all manner of books, and their modern paperback stock doesn't have these stickers on. It's got like a little very, very easy peel off price on the inside front cover, which is a really good way of doing it. But the earlier books do not. They have these stickers like this one's got. So I'm just going to take my time and tease this one off. I mean, it's not like a mega collectible or anything like that. It's not, so we don't need to worry. But at the same time, I'd rather it didn't have the sticker on. It's ironic because this is the very last book we've got to do. We'll need to give those a brush off, and then we're going to be polishing, which is going to be the main bit today, because I think that's really going to bring the books out. Because on the whole, they've not needed a lot internally. They've all been really, really nice. You know, 99% of them, and not needed a lot of work. There we are. That was a bit of an agony, wasn't it? But it's off now. It hasn't left much of a sticky residue, so that's okay. So let's give these a brush down now. I'll put them into a few piles. Where's my brush? Here. Pretty dirty, these, aren't they? So these are going to benefit, that's for certain. Quite a bit came off there. Yeah, they look better. They don't look mint or anything, but they look better. Yeah, these Vietnam books, they're so sort of dusty, and the covers have got a little bit mottled. That I think out of all of them, they're going to benefit the most from being polished. Same with those original Executioner books. I suspect they're going to come up absolutely gleaming, and I'm going to be very, very pleased. Lovely. Right, so that's everything sort of gone through initially, and little pencil marks rubbed out. Now we're going to give them all a really good polish with the Mr. Sheen. Right then, well, I'm hoping I've got enough Mr. Sheen to do the job. I'm going shopping today. I'm going to put some on my shopping list. Because these are mint, I'm hoping they're not going to need stacks of work, but they are going to need some, all of them. And the later ones, which have got like the black sort of cover designs, they're the ones that show up the dirt the most, although white is probably a close second. There we are, lovely. And these books have all got a nice, fairly glossy surface. I think most of the books have today, except those Vietnam ones by Barry Sadler. I think those ones have got a bit more of a matte finish to them, and that's why they've picked up so much dust and dirt. But that's okay, because we can soon sort that out. It is picking up lots of dirt off these, and as expected, the ones with the black covers somehow, for some reason, seem to pick up the dirt worse than others. I don't know why that is. But as I sort of slide the cloth over, I'm also sort of trying to feel for any sort of abnormalities, sticker residue marks, that sort of thing. But because I suspect that these have been bought brand new off the shelf, they don't have any of that. It really was a fantastic collection. On the back, which has come right off. Which I thought it would. 100% sure how easy it's going to be to pick off the odd volumes that I'm after. But if I come across someone who's collected the series and is listing them individually, I might be able to just go through and get all the ones that I'm missing in one hit, which would be ideal. But it just doesn't tend to work out that way. And my suspicion is I may well have to get a couple more job lots before I get all the ones that I'm missing. But you never know. I live in optimistic hope, shall we say, that these odd ones will come my way. This is the one with the that got damaged, unfortunately. But that was the first non-Pendleton one. Then the very next one, look on the back. Yes, there really is a Don Pendleton. And it gives a little mini biography there. So they were probably wondering why not a pen name, but another author had for some reason taken over the last book. I don't actually know why there was the gap in the series, but no doubt I'll find out as I work my way through them. I think it would have been an incredibly interesting guide to meet. They did do there was an executioner convention in 1985, and Don Pendleton was there with his wife Linda, and also cover artist Gil Cohen. And that was the one and only executioner convention that there ever was, but apparently people turned it right from around the world to meet the man. But in a lot of cases, the authors of these sort of golden age men's adventure titles have sadly, in a lot of cases, left us. But they've also left us with a great legacy of some great reading. That's ultimately what it's all about. As expected, the ones with the black covers are showing the greatest benefit from being polished. sadly, it's got a faded spine. It's very, very like cherry red, and that's the covers, and that's very, very susceptible to fading in the sun. So you can see that's a nice cherry red, and down the spine there it's faded in the sun. But there you go. So that's the Executioners all polished. Start on the Cascas now. Now, these may or may not be so bad. We'll just have to see. I think they're just going to vary, to be honest, in condition. Little sticker mark in the corner there, which we've got off. It's always around the sort of the edges that is where the dust sort of accumulates, you know? Dust and dirt, fingerprints. first 10 Cascas, and then we're looking at as good as we can get them, which is still not as nice as I would like them, to be honest, but they're still very, very nice indeed, and it's just such a great series that I absolutely love them. Really bright, actually, really bright jacket on that one. Always remember number 19 was the last one of the originals that I had to track down to get the set. For some reason it was difficult to get at the time. Don't know why. off this one. This one's very rough, number 22. Definitely on my upgrade list, this. Let me give it a cursory clean because not a great deal I can do with that one. Right. Lovely. Well, thankfully the Mr. Sheen has lasted out to the very last few books. Now these aren't going to need much because they were all brand new, so it's just very, very cursory going over these two. Alright, on to the first one of these. So straight on the cover with this, I think. That's a lot better than what it was by a very, very long way. That's good. That looks much better. The same with this one. It seems to be a different sort of a cover that picks up the dirt here. I'm not sure why, but. Massive improvement on this one. Lovely. Similar situation, so it's just sort of like aging and mottling around the sides. And the Mr. Sheen just lifts it straight off. Fantastic. Just what I was hoping for with these. A little bit of sign sunning on this one. Just a little bit. Lovely, very nice indeed. Now, Sergeant Hawk, I'm not going to spray directly on that. This is a different sort of cover. It's a slightly older book, late 70s rather than mid 80s, and the cloth is already fairly well impregnated with polish anyway, and this isn't in the greatest of shape, so I need to be careful. So I'm just really going to leave it at that. It's about as good as I can hope on that one. This one's different. It's got a black cover, it's a bit later. Let's see how I get on. It's definitely made a bit of a difference. A little bit of a sticker removal mark there. If you remember, this is the one which had the sticker on around there. I'm just going to dab a bit on, and that's pretty much eaten that sticker mark up already, which is exactly what I was hoping would happen. A little bit of a sticker mark on the front cover as well. Which it looks like I've just about got off. Now I've got these Camerons, and these are also fairly old, so I'm just going to spray it on the cloth just to do this couple. So there we are. So I hope you've enjoyed this little trip through a bit of men's adventure. Certainly a genre I do enjoy in small doses. I really do. When I'm in the mood, I've got what I believe to be amongst the cream of the crop for this sort of genre. I know there's lots and lots out there, but I'm not that well read in it, so I have to stick with what's known. But out of all of these, the Casca books are very, very good, and they come highly recommended. So I do suggest you look those ones out, and I'll let you know how I get on with the Executioner series, which is a series that I've wanted to read for a long time, and I've now got some beautiful original editions to dip into. Brilliant. So thank you very much for watching today. If you've enjoyed it, give it that thumbs up. Leave a comment if you really enjoyed it. And I'll see you again next week with another video. Bye.